Okay, then let me start with short notes on generators, ranges, and simplicity, because I have first my the usual disclaimer. The code I have is slideware. I try to have no mistakes in it, but this happens. Personal opinions, of course, we can discuss them in the break, and no universal solution, because they are hard to have. And this is me if we want to find my private or my public interface, so to speak. So state generator came to C++ 23, and my first reaction when I saw it coming was, why would I ever need this? I can write lambdas. But then we had this example. And this is, I've taken this from another presentation, I will show you later. But this is basically a Fibonacci generator. And as you see, the generator, it returns the generator with a data type, what you read. And then you have the call yield function, so you have this resumable function that become automatically, a resumable function, and a range. So the generator is basically a range. You can range-based for loop, and you can pipe it in fuse. And then this comes out. And if you want to have more information about generators, watch this talk from Nicolas Yusuptis. It's very, very good. It's a full dive into ranges, into generator, what is it, why are they good, and also how to shoot in your foot with them, like calling to begin on them 2 times or something like this, or moving them around. How to have them on the heap, not on the heap, because usually they are on the heap. But when I was seeing this slide, this was actually then the motivation for this talk. This was, okay, the generator is this part. It's very little code to write. And if you would write it as a class, it would be like this, a class with state, because a generator is nothing else than a class with state, right? And you can call next. And I watched this in the Christmas holidays, and then I went to bed, and then I walked the dog the next day, and I was just thinking, is this true? And then I wrote this, and I had the same Fibonacci generator. And of course, prints the same results. Is of course a little bit hard-coded with this 20, but you can imagine that you could put the whole code here into a function that takes this here as an argument, binds it, return this lambda, and have this whole thing as a generator. But this is of course totally unfair, this comparison, because there is no range-based for loop with this code. It does not compose with views, and reusability. I said you can package this in a functional way, then it becomes reusable, but not my toy example. Okay, so can I fix this? And let's see if I can. So the implementation of the Fibonacci number is very simple. You have seen it multiple times since I had in the opening. Don't make integer overflows. We add a little bit of check for this, and this is the non-accept version, where you return the maximum value when you reach the end of numbers, and this is throwing an exception when you can't produce a new number anymore because you're going out of range. So, and then you have the main function where you can call the stuff and put exception handling. And I put this here just to highlight the point and make the point. There's always space on the slide to make secure code or safe code, because safety becomes more and more important, and AI will take the code probably as example, so give it good code, please, in future. So now I can simplify. So what I want to have is for auto value in my Fibonacci generator or whatever generator for the first 20, and I want the range-based for loops. So what do I need for this? I need the generator, and the generator, as you see, is basically just a creator, and all it does, it's creating a begin and an end. And what it returns is an iterator. So what it's required is an iterator class. And the class iterator is actually the workhorse of this. It has the global state as a class global state, what it needs to do the work. And we remember which iteration we have. Here is the worker function. The public interface is, of course, a constructor. When do we reach the end? We want to read a value. We want to go to the next one. And we want to be able to compare if we reached end or not. Because if you remember here, at the end, we give it the maximum of iteration. So that's the whole interface we need. If we implement this, pretty easy code. There should be no surprise in how you do this. And now we have, I showed the worker function also, because instead of returning something, we just get the next iteration. But it's the same code I had in the Lambda previously. So, and now it works. We can go through this code, and for this example, I sum the values, because it reduces a little bit noise when we look at this, and you don't need to be able to read all the details here. Just to highlight the point, it's about 40 lines of code with the iterator interface and the generator. But the interesting thing is here on this side, it's saying 17710, which is the result of the sum. So with this code, the compiler is totally able to see through and say, hey, I can make this at compile time, fine. And yeah, so that's what we need on the interface to have for the range-based for loop. Begin, end, returning iterator. We need to be able to dereference the iterator with the reading action on the value, go to the next element, and the comparison for I'm not at the end or I'm at the end. So that's our generator. It's simple. It's more code, but the code is not terrible. You have 100% control. Do you want to have it on the stack? Do you want to have it on the heap? You can call begin multiple times, and it will work. It's nice you don't shoot yourself so often in the foot. And it's probably better for the compiler than a generator and coroutine-based code. I'm not sure. OK, so are we done? No, of course not. It's a rhetorical question. Because what we want to have is the full range support. I want to pipe this in a view. And to be able to do this, we need a little bit more. So what we need is a begin that gives us the iterator, and the end function that gives us essential, because we don't need to have the same type, because there might be ranges that go on forever, and you can compare them. And we need to tell the iterator what type of iterator it is. Is it the input iterator? And the public interface is then this. We had already the reading. Going to the next element, we need then the postfix++. We need an equal comparison with the essential to see did we reach the end. And we need the value type, difference type, and iterator tag to fulfill the concept of iterator. So we started with this. What we do is we change this to having the essential here, which keeps then the value, how many iterations do we do. And the end iterator is now the returned essential. In the iterator itself, we make in the public interface these type tabs that we fulfill the concept of the iterator. And we add these two methods. The one is we compare against essential. Did we reach the end? And the other one is the postfix++, where we just step to the next stuff. And when we implement this, this works. And this is nice. And some compilers are able to take this code and turn it into this, which is nice. So sometimes it's good to write a little bit code yourself. So final notes. I said the first code part, compiler can switch through. The second one, ranges fold left, does exactly the same, but the compiler cannot see through anymore. And I mentioned this to highlight, every syntax sugar we get into the language adds a cost, right? We have this abstraction, if you don't use it, there is no cost. Yeah, but you're using something, so care about the cost, and we should be aware that a lot of these nice things, modern things that people want to have, there is a cost. The generator has a cost. Some things of the ranges have a cost. There is a little bit code to play around on Godbolt if you want to have it. If you don't make the picture now, go on our YouTube channel. When the talk is online, then you can play around with this. It's a template version there, where you can say the generator is either 0 or 1. And you can use it as a toy to play around to make the type Also template parameter, left this to you, because then you have something to do. So less is more. You decide, generator or not. Simplicity depends, right? Some people say, oh, this functional programming style with ranges is more simple. The other says, if I read code, I want to see the full loop implementation. So inner loops, it depends on people. Also, what can the compiler see, what not. In any case, writing an iterator is not that hard. If you want to have a little exercise, you can make, for example, for every value in my range from 0 to 27. Then you get, in every step, the number out to start with. And then you see, oh, that's actually not terrible complicated to write generators. OK, and that's already my talk. Thank you. So, yeah, awesome timing. I take questions. Yeah, we can take one question.
Which compiler did you use?
It's in the link of the compiler explorer, but I think it was Clang. Clang and GCC. This is the usual standards that I use. Yeah.
Could you please show the link again?
This is a little bit more example, but you can take it as a example. And here is also here is also some. I hope I updated the code where I played a little bit. Artem, to you.
Yeah, it wasn't clear for me whether the generator code was evaluated compile time or not. Did you check that?
If I check if the very first example, this one.
Yeah.
No, there is no way. There's heap allocations. It is very complicated to get a coroutine on the stack, which makes them basically limited useful for embedded space.
That was one of Gore's main selling points, that he could optimize the coroutines, right? When they were first.
But you cannot really optimize it the stack away, that it's used on the stack. I mean, I did push past it in the same compiler. I did not have an optimized way, but we need to also to be fair. This code, which I have here, is super fairly simple, right? I mean, it's not a big, and it's basically irrelevant. But the reason why I mention it is there is sometimes a price in when we use an abstraction also from the standard library. They rarely come for free. There is always something behind the scenes going on, and if you want to be optimal in your performance, then you would like to know about this. Often it doesn't matter for most use cases, but sometimes it does, right? Yeah. Okay, then let's have some food and something to drink, and then we call you back for the second part of the evening. Enjoy the mingle part, please.